I don't like this orientation of my phone. Anywho, hi, I am the Lady Miss Vagina Jenkins, and it is time for Queer. My top 5 red flags to consider when you are trying to choose an astrologer to work with. Before we get into it, I wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm live and what today is like. Anyway, so today is like I have what they call low spoons in the disability community. I have a lot of things going on in terms of work life, as well as a little bit of body pain more than I am used to. And so, yeah, this week I did not have spoons to sit down and edit and record and edit and release a proper video. But I always want to hold fast to getting one video done a week for my YouTube channel. Particularly, my deadline is for Wednesday release. And so it feels really important to not betray myself and stick to that goal, but I have built in these ways that honor my capacity. And so, yeah, going live on a Wednesday is sometimes my answer to low spoons weeks. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Another thing that I wanted to acknowledge was this dope ass sweatshirt. I have been waiting to stunt on y'all with this sweatshirt. It is everything. It's like cropped, but it's got like that drop shoulder, so it's kind of like got a baggy, oversized fit. I got it maybe like a month ago at the Salvation Army, and it was like half off sale day, and it was like brand new with the tags on it and everything. And yeah, I just been waiting for it to be cold enough to wear this sweatshirt. So I guess maybe that's a thing that I don't mind about the video orientation. Every time I try to go live, YouTube tells me to change something in my settings so that I can orient the phone. Is that the word that I'm looking for? You know what I mean. Rotate it. Um, and I change those settings and it'll let me go live, but then the next time it's the exact same thing. So I don't know what is up with YouTube. But yeah, that is a reality in the world. And so we move around, we are flexible, and we go with the flow. And so, yeah, here we are in portrait instead of landscape. Okay, so that is all of the check-in sort of business. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this discussion. So yeah, last week I talked about, oh, these are some things that you might want to look out for or look forward to in terms of how you choose an astrologer to work with. And if YouTube allows me to insert an iCard, I'll make sure to put that up there as a link so that you can check out last week's video. And then in this week's video, I wanted to straight up get into the no-no zone. Um, in terms of noticing red flags that make me think, oh, this is not necessarily an astrologer that I would like to work with. You know, everybody has different opinions, but these are some things that I have noticed that don't make me feel comfortable to work with an astrologer and potentially make me think about scammy mixed scammertons, which I don't know. When I was doing the astrology for 2023, and then some of the work that I was doing looking forward towards 2024, I believe that spiritual scammers are going to be on the rise. There's some things about Neptune that I don't super love. Just a lot that's transiting or squaring Pisces that makes me, I don't know, it just makes me want to keep my eyes open. I'll say that. Anyway, red flags. I've got some notes here and let's get into it. So yeah, my these aren't really in a particular order. They just sort of are going with a flow of information. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about is people or astrologers that have an emphasis on sun sign astrology. But what I mean by that is people that are like, oh, um, Pisces is always like this, and oh, Aquarius is always like this, and oh, here's a thing. I've noticed people will say, oh, there's a difference between March Pisces and February Pisces, and so when they say that, what I know they're talking about is the sun in the sign of Pisces over the tail part of February and the first part of March. So that's an example of like sun sign astrology. Usually I guess what I'm talking about too is people that don't mention what placements they're talking about. This particular reading is for Taurus moons or Taurus risings. Um, it's not really useful ever to make a reading for a particular sun sign because literally your sun could be anywhere in the chart in any of the 12 houses. And where your sun is gives a lot of information about how you approach life. And so it might be more useful to give readings based on rising signs. And I've talked about that a whole lot before about how capitalism has given us sun sign astrology. But when I see someone who is only talking about sun signs, not acknowledging any other planetary placements or any of the 12 houses, that's kind of a big red flag for me that I personally would not want to work with them as an astrologer. But I would, of course, I follow people like that on social media all the time. It's fun, it's entertaining, but it's not necessarily accurate or useful for me in my practice. But your mileage may vary. So, something to keep in mind. And then, oh, also, in relating to sun sign astrology, there's the pop astrology girlies, and these are the people that I'm talking about that'll be like, oh, Pisces and are always like this, and Aries are always like that. And a lot of times you'll see them making content where they're dragging the signs. Oh, no one likes Gemini, or everybody's afraid of Scorpios, and oh, such and such was a Scorpio, so that they're blah blah blah, sort of stereotypes about the signs. Yeah, that kind of information is not particularly useful to me, and I do think of it as a red flag because each of us has all 12 signs of energy in our natal chart and subsequent charts like persona charts and solar return charts and relocation charts, so many different charts. I'm getting off topic, but we all have all 12 signs in our energetic body. So saying, oh, I don't like Scorpios because they are such and such stereotype really just kind of makes you look foolish because you have Scorpios somewhere in your energetic body. And when you point the finger at somebody else, there's three fingers pointing back at you with your stank, misinformed ass. Anyway, so that's something that I definitely look at as a kind of red flag is the kind of pop astrology dragging of signs. And like I said, I do follow people that do engage in that kind of behavior. Sometimes it can be entertaining, sometimes it can be hurtful, but it is very rarely accurate. So I don't know. Keep that in mind as well. Number 3, kind of related to number 1 and 2, fear mongering and absolutes. First of all, we can look at any given chart and possibly guess some of the patterns that might show up, but each person has their own free will. Each person has their own idea of how they want to pursue their life and how they express the energy in your chart. And there are a million different combinations and a million trillion different individuals. So there's no way that you can say, oh, this is always like that. And I think that that's language to watch out for when people are like, oh, this is always like this. Um, oh, when I see a transit and it's definitely going to blah, 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 or it will, any kind of absolute language in astrology is always a red flag for me. Um, I think that I've kind of gotten out of the habit, but I always used to, in my readings, approach things. I like to approach things with curiosity, and I would specifically use the language of, I would be curious about your experience of this placement. I've seen it come down, I've seen it express itself in these ways. Do any of these ways resonate with you? So yeah, people that are asking questions rather than serving absolutes and certainty. Yeah, there's no way that you can do certainty in astrology when we take into account the fact that people have free will and autonomy over their experiences. So yeah, that is red flag number 3 for me. Red flag number 4 is more of a gut feeling. When you are watching this person do their thing on social media, or if you're interacting with them in person, like at a spiritual fair or something like that, does this person inspire you to confide in them? Does this person inspire you to confidence? Does this person feel like someone that you would want to discuss the more intimate personal details of your life with? And if they don't feel that way, or that gut feeling that you have. Um, Now, Scorpio moons, Scorpio risings. I know y'all private. I know y'all secretive. I know that you are a special secret garden and you don't necessarily want to let folks in, and that sometimes it can create a sort of like internal gaslighting effect. Still, I would encourage you to trust your gut. You know who is worthy of hearing the intimate details of your life. Yeah, please trust your gut. Everybody, please trust your gut. When you are sitting across from someone and you feel uncomfortable, that is definitely a sign that maybe there's not an energetic match. And I think that it behooves us and it is important to honor that. So, yeah, that's my red flag, pink flag, yellow flag, number 4. And then red flag number 5 is underlining a point from last week's video. Um, Rates that are too good to be true. Um, if you see, I see this on social media, particularly on TikTok, where astrologers will be giving, content, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I'm going to go live. And if you send me dollars on Cash App, I will do a reading for you. Um, First and foremost, let's define terms. What do you mean by reading? Is it specifically, I will look at your first house? Or is it specifically, I will look at this particular placement? How long will we be talking for? Will you tell me 30 seconds of information? Will you tell me 5 minutes of information? And then there's that thing too where I often will see this on TikTok. And I think I got scammed by a spiritualist, not an astrologer, but a different sort of spiritualist that was like, yeah, I will make a TikTok video that explores your such and such energy. Just send me Cash App and tell me your TikTok at. And I sent my money and never received anything by it or for it. And yeah, when I have seen these kind of scams play out, it's usually for just a nominal sort of fee. It's $5, $10, $20 tops. It's the amount of money that you might not make a stink about, if that makes any sense. That is a red flag for me. And then, yeah, just generally speaking, when you're like perusing people's websites, I've seen a lot of these on Etsy that are like, oh, $10 readings or $15 readings, get a such and such report. I just want to remind folks, I talked about this in last week's video, that a lot of times what those people are doing is they're going on a couple of different websites. There's astro.com, astroseek.com, and I believe, I can't remember, oh, astrocharts. You can type in someone's birth data and they can give you a written report. But this report is not really good at synthesizing data. It literally is quite often a list. Oh, rise, such and such rising sign means this, such and such moon sign means this, such and such Mercury sign means this. But it's not really looking at how these things are interacting with each other. So, like the aspects, it's not definitely not looking at transits. And so, yeah, there are a number of different websites and apps that will do the work of making explanations of all of the lists of placements. But it's not necessarily what I would call an astrology reading, which to me is defined by its synthesis of information. And so that is something that I've seen a lot of folks do, particularly on Etsy. And I have come across it on a couple of different people's websites as well. So, yeah, when you see a $5, $10, $20 reading, understand the time investment that that might mean for the astrologer, and think to yourself whether that actually is going to serve your purpose. And for some people, they might not know how to use the web or the various websites. So it is useful for them to be like, okay, yeah, give me a report. But I think for the majority of people, they want the synthesis of data and the individualization that comes from like someone that's really examining the full holistic picture. It's the cops. It's always the cops in my neighborhood. Shout out to people that live in overly policed communities. I see you and I love you and I'm grateful for you surviving it all. Anyway, so yeah, those are my top 5 red flags. I was really only hoping to talk for like 10 minutes, but I be talking a lot. And so, yeah, I'm going to check the chat and see if there's any questions, comments, concerns, clarification. Let me see what's up. Can I not check the chat? Oh, maybe I have to change the orientation, but it won't let me. Let me see. I think it's time for me to get realistic about the fact that I might not know how to properly use YouTube. So this is the chat button. Top chat. Okay, yeah. No comments, no concerns, no questions. All right. Thank you so much for folks that stopped by. Thank you for the person that liked it. I like you too. And I will see you next week as spoons allow. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting, liking, commenting, and yeah, thank you for making time for queer astrology. Bye.